fighter in the world.
Yippee-ki-yay,
You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Dodge this.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Dodge This Action Movies Unleashed. My name remains Simon Fielder. I'm located in Mumbai, India, and joining me to discuss John Woo's 2024 remake of his own movie, The Killer, a good friend. I think last time he became friend of the pod, and then there was some sort of slightly... let's say OTT overtones about what he would be if he came back. Suffice to say, concubine of the pod, Christopher Gau returns. Hello, mate.
Hello. So it's concubine, is it?
But, oh yeah, why not?
Not lover of the pod. Because I do love the pod.
Well, that's good news, actually. I would hope anyway you are a lover of the pod.
I feel like as a concubine, I feel a little objectified.
Yeah, no.
Which no. Just to clarify, I'm
like
into
it. I don't even know if you can say the word concubine in 2024.
I think you can because
is it okay?
I feel like concubines are long gone, aren't they?
Well, I suppose.
It's not like sex worker of the pod.
That's the one, isn't it? There was I went through all the words that you can't say that are now replaced by sex worker recently.
Yeah.
Just to check, I knew that I had access to them, but I wasn't saying them out loud. Anyway, before we immediately derail the entire pod, welcome back, Chris. Always an absolute delight to have you. My
pleasure. My delight. Thank you for inviting me back for a third time.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And I hope it's going to be a do's. We, beginning of this series, Matthew Heighton, the OG of the pod, was welcomed back, and he'd made a new child, and he was fatigued but enthusiastic, and he hadn't had chance to watch as many movies. Spoilers, listeners. Chris Gau has also recently sprouted a sire, if you will. sired a sprout. Has that affected your one movie per day record?
What do you think?
I want to say, well, I mean, I still follow you on Letterboxd, so part of me thinks he's still somehow doing it, but at the same time, I think it's unrealistic. And also, you did say I need 2 weeks to watch one movie when we agreed to do this several weeks ago. So I suppose that's a window into that world.
But not only that, we actually watched 2 movies.
That's true. Listener, Chris is a movie fan first. And so it was not, I didn't even foist this upon him because I knew he was busy, but he wanted to watch the original The Killer from 1989. And so, good egg that I am, with clearly much more time on his hands than Chris, I also rewatched the original The Killer from 1989, which historically I have quoted as being one of, if not my favourite movie. It's hard to name one favourite of anything when you get to this point in life, I think. But
I can name a favourite.
Can you?
My daughter is my favourite daughter.
There you go.
Categorically.
Fair. That's
now,
fair.
I really want to find out more about your travels with the original Killer.
Well, when I was at university, I had a poster of the original The Killer on my wall. I was that guy.
As in Chow Yun-fat in a trench coat with the sunglasses?
No, I think it was for the UK release. And if memory serves, it was a landscape poster of him with a stick-on moustache in the boat holding the sniper rifle. I believe that was and then it had some sort of, very excitable quote saying like the most action movie you've ever seen or whatever. And I had to agree. And we'll get into it, but I'm a lifelong huge John Woo fan since back then, and it's been a bumpy ride of late. So I came to this with all manner of thoughts and expectations, but it was a delight to revisit the original. So thank you for having that idea.
Is it telling that you said It was a delight visiting the original.
Well,
As in, what is it a spoiler? Can we just get into this?
no, because I have to ask you some preamble before we get into the movie
Yeah.
brackets
Yeah.
S.
Yeah.
I scratched the surface with you. Have you been able to watch some stuff? But I know you have been able to watch some stuff because I see it on Letterboxd. I see the
I have
random
watched
movies
some
popping up.
stuff.
And you know what is both frustrating but will ultimately be gratifying for you is recently something popped up on your Letterboxd. It's always a movie I've never heard of, and that I think that is just delightful because it's opening my eyes to a world. And it was an Italian movie called We All Love Each Other Loads and Loads or something.
Oh, that was a great movie. We all loved each other so much.
And
Great
within
movie.
days of me reading your review of that, it popped up in my travels on the internet. And I immediately grabbed it and was like, I'm going to watch this before the pod, and Chris is going to shit his little britches.
No way.
However, I did not have time to watch it. But
Damn.
it's there. It's lined up. It's in the stack.
I'd be very intrigued to know what you think of this movie. This is like, I just got into a deep dive with like 60s Italian movies. This is quite boring. Well, maybe not for a movie pod. It's probably quite interesting for a movie pod.
It's a movie pod.
But there's this thing called, I mean, I'm not knowledgeable in this, but it's like Commedia della Italia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this, like, after the 50s, you know, they had this like neo-realist thing where they were the people who, after the big Hollywood like studio pictures in the like late 40s and 50s, they started making movies about real people, real issues with non-actors, which is like completely unheard of.
Wow.
Like this thing called like neo-realism, and all these movies are incredible, like amazing, some of the best movies you'll ever see. And that slowly morphed into like comedies from this era with sort of like real issues, and they're really funny because they're all about ne'er-do-wells and people being shits, like con men, and they're just and like no one's perfect in them, and they're like really alive, like they feel like they're not pretentious anymore, they just feel like really fun, and they're like slightly dark, and they're really great. And this movie is written and directed by one of the key figures of that like movement.
Okay.
But this is like right at the end in the mid 70s, and it's sort of a summation of all of those ideas. So I would like to know, if you haven't seen all the other stuff, I'd like to know what you think of it. But it's really well directed. It's like really interesting to watch. It's a really interesting movie. So I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Well, I'm fascinated watching now, and I have zero expectations. I know nothing of that era of Italian cinema, really. So I'm sort of going in with my 2-1 BA Ons media studies hat on.
That's all we ask. And your heart open. There's no flying doves in it. There's no sentimental music in it. There's a bit of that, actually.
Okay.
There's no reloading guns midair, I would say.
Tricky. It might not make it into the title of a future podcast, but it definitely will be grist to the mill of, me being a movie fan. And as I always say on this pod, sometimes my purview gets a little narrow with trying to num all the action movies to be across it all. So, okay, well, I'm sorry I couldn't deliver the sort of punchline of that bit, which was me having actually watched the movie.
I'm just proud of you for even trying.
Yeah, thank you. I'll tell you a couple of other things that I've seen, and they are, by and large, not pod adjacent, but pod-worthy. Yeah, they're just not going to make it into this season. I saw the new Scott Adkins, Take Cover. Don't know if you've seen that one.
Is that a DTV?
It is DTV. Yep.
And he's the chap in John Wick who's in the or the makeup, correct? In one of the John Wicks.
In the whatever the correct term for fat suit is now. Yes.
Yeah.
Sex worker.
The fat boned sex worker suit.
That's correct. He's in the concubine costume in John Wick 4.
Yeah.
That movie is Okay, it's a solid 3-star. Adkins is good in it. It's very low budget, very contained. It's about 2 guys who get trapped in a hotel room with a sniper. He gets to duff some people up. There's some quite good sort of pyrotechnic bits in it. And there's just this is something that I found quite interesting. And it's weird that it's a complaint, but for this type of movie, there's too much dialogue in the script. And as I was thinking that, I was like, what a weird thing to say about a movie. But it just feels like it's trying a bit too hard. I feel annoyed that is a complaint, because I'm like, usually in DTV movies, your complaint is the script is, paper thin and whatever. And now someone's tried to like overwrite it and it's gone too far the other way.
I don't think it's a complaint at all. I think action movies don't need dialogue. I mean, they're like a movie at its core, like horror and action is really the purview of movies. Like you can't do those things. I suppose you could do horror to a certain extent, but action is like the only genre that you can't really do in any other medium. Like cinema's so built for action, like chase sequences, running, cuts, explosions, and you don't really need dialogue. And it's interesting, we'll get onto this later, like the 1987 killer compared to the 2024 killer, that's the stark difference. The first killer is so visually like tells the story visually. It's not got a lot of dialogue or scenes really. It's like all and it's like I think like I much prefer action when it's just straightforward, like without any like themes or chatting. I suppose the Shane Black like joke ones are like,
yes,
but apart from that, like this is my complaint. I think I've said this on another your other pods, but I feel like John Wick 1 is great because it's just a man getting revenge about his dog or his wife.
Yeah,
but then as soon as all the lore starts coming into it and the canon, it just like weighs it down. And I just don't give a shit. I just want John Wick to go and smack a few people.
In that case, don't put Take Cover at the top of your list, I would say. Is there anything else that was on your list?
Well, I'm just looking at action movies that I've watched recently.
Well, it doesn't have to be, Chris. You're the person who opens my eyes to some other stuff that I add to a list of movies that I may or may not ever watch.
Action movies this month. I've revisited The Departed, Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
Great movie.
Furiosa,
a Mad Max saga I watched.
I will just say that just to tie The Departed into this, based on a classic Hong Kong movie also.
Yeah. Great movie, that. Infernal Affairs.
Yeah, I love it. Haven't seen Furiosa still. I believe I chatted briefly with Matt about it in previous pod. Did you enjoy it?
I thought, I did enjoy it actually. Like, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's like so well directed. It's insane how well directed it is.
I think I just have to watch it for that.
It's like nothing else. And Hemsworth, who I'm pretty indifferent about, is really good in it. I mean, I don't mind him, but he's great in it. And then I watched Argylle.
Interesting. The trailer for that put me off it.
I watched, to be 100% truthful, I watched 33% of Argylle. And then
and that's the review.
And that was it for me. Oh, I saw Wolves as well. That's sort of actiony.
Is it? The
Wolves with them. Yeah, it's like two
more
people.
Chatty action.
Yeah, chatty action, I would say.
Is it good?
Rebel
I'm
Ridge.
intrigued by it. Oh, you saw Rebel Ridge.
What did you think of Rebel Ridge?
I loved it.
I loved it as well. I thought it was really excellent.
Yeah.
I love that director, though. I think he's amazing.
Yes, and I think, without wanting to repeat myself, because I definitely spoke to Matt about this as well, but I didn't know it was him, Jeremy Saulnier, when I watched Rebel Ridge, and I have watched and enjoyed Blue Ruin and Green Room especially. And I think that helped, because if I'd known, I would have gone in thinking, oh, this is going to be grungy. Yeah. And it's like the opposite, isn't it? It's him just kind of going,
no one dies.
I don't need anyone getting killed by a dog or whatever. You know?
What I really liked about it is it was, again, it's not like perfect, but like for like a genre movie, I thought it was really good because it was like playing with all your expectations. You think it would do one thing and then it never did that thing. And
Yes.
that is all you can ask from a genre movie, really.
Yeah, I thought it was gangbusters. And the lead guy in it was great. Like a
Very
star-making
sexy.
performance.
He's English as well.
He is British, yeah. Absolutely smashed it, I would say. Okay, I also saw another movie with the word killer in the title called The Killer's Game, with ex-wrestler Dave Bautista in it, directed by former stuntman J.J. Perry, his second movie after Night Shift, the vampire action Jamie Foxx Netflix movie, which was very enjoyable and really good stunts and action. And I think this one sort of repeated that formula of really good stunts and action. Let J.J. Perry make more movies, please.
I thought Night Shift was a bad movie, but full of great, like really interesting action choreography. I thought it was like, oh, this guy is this, like, you know, when you see a movie, you're like, oh, I haven't seen stuff like this before.
Yes.
And that's rare.
Yeah.
It was really good, but the story I thought was pretty weak. But
Yeah. Fair play.
I also like Dave Thingamajiggles.
Bautista.
I think of all the ex-wrestlers, he's my fave, I think.
Yeah, he sort of does some quite interesting stuff, doesn't he? And this one is quite a sort of straightforward role for him. And arguably, in an action movie, he is sort of like the least actiony person in it. It's got Adkins in it. It's almost like a sort of who's who of great DTV actors popping up. It's about a killer who ends up having to kill a load of killers. So it's just like, who's the next level? Adkins, Marco Zaror. They all pop up. It's good fun.
I would have thought he was. Is that like a Netflix special or something? What is that, a streaming movie?
It is streaming, yeah. I think it got a bit of a cinema release in the US, but elsewhere,
Okay.
I think it's going straight to streams. Not unlike The Killer 2024, which seems to be sort of going all over the place. Oh, I do have to mention one other movie that I saw, an Indian movie called Jigra, starring Alia Bhatt, which is a sort of pseudo mass entertainer, sort of thriller, drama, bit of action, because there's a British guy in one scene, and I think that guy's got a big future.
No way. Where can we
Very
see it?
exciting week.
Oh, do you have any lines?
Yes, it was my first thing. I shot it almost a year ago, and it's the first thing that's come out. And me and my girlfriend went to the cinema and watched it. It was very exciting.
You were not invited to the premiere, the red carpet.
Negatory. There actually wasn't one.
Holy cow!
That's all.
How was it working on a Bollywood set?
Very exciting. Very well. This was one of my first experiences on set after I got here. So it was a very sort of eye-opening, just look and learn experience.
Yeah.
And I've been on a few more since then and sort of, tried to sort of get the measure of it a bit more. But yeah, it was a great experience. And I think the movie is a lot of fun.
How many lines do you remember? Can you say a couple of your lines?
I got it's like one scene where I had one sort of chunk and then a little back and forth with the star of the movie. So that's quite good.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Simon.
I think it'll be on Netflix soon so that my mum and dad can watch it.
And your concubine.
And Concubine Gau. Oh, I tell you what else I watched. One other thing. I don't know if you've seen this. It's on Netflix. It's I want to sort of call it an indie movie. I think it was like a Sundance breakout. It's called It's What's Inside.
Oh, I've heard about this. That looks good. I'm into that idea.
Yeah, it had a very like debut feature of a director with a vision vibe, you know. It was like from the off, you're like, okay, this guy's got some ideas, and it's like a lot to take in, and it's kind of a good conceit, and then it kind of goes
Trails off like an indie movie that's debuted with someone who has a big idea and then can't.
Yeah, I think I guess I thought it was a horror movie going in, and I don't watch a lot of horror movies, but I think it's more, you would call it like sci-fi black comedy.
Tell the audience the conceit.
The conceit is basically a group of friends get back together after having not seen each other for like 8 years. One of them has become some dude in Silicon Valley and is like, I've got this contraption And then they put these electrodes on their head, and he presses a button, and then they all swap bodies, basically, which I think is like a great idea. But there's like 8 characters, and the hardest thing, I think, and that it tries so hard to make it make sense, but I don't think there's a person who will watch this movie who halfway through isn't going, right, so wait, who is? Which one is? And then so often with movies that have like such an interesting conceit, and also sometimes with like horror movies, I find so much rests on whether you stick the landing. Like an action movie
100%.
can be like, oh, there was really good action throughout, but like maybe the finale didn't quite measure up, but I really enjoyed the ride. Whereas when things rest on like a high concept thing, if you don't stick the landing, it can leave such a bitter taste. And I think this really shat the bed at the end.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. But worth a look, I think, just sort of to see it and be, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a big market for those sort of horror or horror adjacent, because they're all coming out of like Shudder. Like Shudder, the TV channel, makes a lot of them. And like, they are doing really well. You know, they're really cheap to make. So the Terrifier. Have you ever seen the Terrifier?
No, but I've heard of it. And there's 3. There's a third one.
There's 3,
out, right?
And the third one, again, like totally independent movie made without any studio interference whatsoever, has just topped the US box office this weekend.
Incredible.
And it's insane. And it's not like made a huge amount. It's like made $15 million or something. But like for something that is completely like you and I doing it, it's like this huge like market for it now.
Yeah, 100%.
Really interesting.
And I think I read something about this being snapped up by Netflix for like 17 million or something, and the budget was clearly sub 10, maybe 5. You know, it's very much a sort of like auteurish vision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like worth it to sort of have seen it, but I felt disappointed by it. Anyway, I feel like the preamble has gone on for long enough, Chris.
What else do people tune in for except to hear chat about movies, though?
That's true, isn't it?
They don't need an answer to whether we like the killer, because they're going to make their own decisions.
In a way, I assume that most people would watch the film first and then listen to 2 dickheads talking about it. That's generally how I approach things.
I think that's the best.
Lest there be spoilers.
Hey, do you want to go and watch 2 versions of the same movie made 30 years apart?
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
You join us in, well, it's at home. It's in 2 homes. This movie, The Killer 2024, directed by John Woo, who also directed The Killer 1989, has been released all over the place. In the US, it debuted on Peacock, which is the NBC streaming service. In the Netherlands, it seemed to get a bloody cinema release. Here in India, it's on Geo Cinema. It's just sort of, you've got to just, wherever you are, Google it and see where it is to watch. So, Christoph, and again, if you skip past the preamble straight to this bit, I will say Christoph and I both rewatched the 1989 version of The Killer in the same period of time, let's say the last 2 weeks, for perspective. Chris, can you give us a quick sum up of the new Killer with perhaps some comparison details plot-wise to the first one? I suppose that might help.
The Killer 2024, which I think was actually paid for by Peacock, if my research is correct.
Okay.
Stars a hit lady.
Boo! It's supposed to be a man.
Who, in the course of killing one of her targets, accidentally blinds an innocent singer. And then, because this hit lady wants redemption for all the terrible things she's done, decides to protect this woman from being assassinated to cover up the I've sort of lost the train of it. But yeah. To assassinate they are both then hunted by the original target. I mean, then it's sort of twists and turns, but that's basically it, right? I've sort of explained it.
I think you've basically explained the plot of both of them, haven't you? That's that I would say is the thread that is consistent twixt 89 and 24. Blinded singer, killer decides to look after her.
Yeah.
To some degree or other.
Yeah.
Now, 1989, golden age of Hong Kong movies. Chow Yun-fat plays the eponymous the titular killer. Interestingly, this time when I watched the 89 version, there were different subtitles. The OG subs that were on my Made in Hong Kong UK VHS, he was called Jeff. But I think he had a different name on these. There was like some newly done or some, it was this slight detour, but there was this guy who basically made bootleg Blu-rays of unavailable Hong Kong movies, including The Killer and Hard Boiled, whereby he got all the versions of these movies. It was called Hong Kong Rescue. It became quite contentious because so many people ordered them from him. He couldn't keep up, and a lot of people got stiffed, I think. But he basically got the best version of like the video, and then the best version of the audio, and then like all the available extras and all the available subs, and sort of made like a Criterion version, if you will, of these movies that are not available on good quality Blu-rays.
I watched this very same one. I thought it was the best looking version I've seen of this movie so far.
Correct.
And the subtitles made sense, which sometimes in a Hong Kong movie, they do not make sense.
That is correct. So the 89 version, Hong Kong, two guys. You neglected to mention the antagonist, the cop. There's also a cop who's on the trail of this killer. In the OG version, it's a guy cop. In the new version, still a guy cop. They didn't switch everything, but he is French.
Omar Sy, the charismatic Omar Sy.
From the Gentleman Burglar series. What is that called?
Lupin,
le gentleman thief.
I find it fascinating. Just quick sidebar. It's so funny in these Hong Kong movies that they're called Jeff. I don't know why. Like, they've always got really like funny, like non-actiony names to my English ears. These Hong Kong movies. There was like Simon and Jeff and Chris.
I think it's perhaps an of an era name thing, in that there are also a lot of people in Hong Kong who were probably born twixt 60 and 80 who have very British names, or they probably have very Chinese names, but then also they're called Jeffrey or, like Keith. And I think, oddly, I've found that in India a little bit as well. And I think we both know the reason for both of those things.
Yeah. And as two white gentlemen, we should probably brush over this. With these synopses beautifully handled and cleared up by yourself, which was your favorite? Which was your, not synopsis, which is your favorite of the Killer 80s versus the Killer 2024?
I mean, that is a big question to answer, Chris, isn't it? And I think we can dive a bit deeper. The Killer 89 has been baked into my soul for so many years, but I will say I probably haven't seen it for at least 10 years. So I was coming to it not remembering a lot of stuff about it.
I was the same. I thought I remembered it. Again, I was like you, I'd watched it a lot when I was younger. And I thought I remembered all of it. And it was like a brand new viewing. It was mad.
Yeah.
Hard Boiled is by far my favorite John Woo movie, though. That's the one for me. I love, and the action sequences in Hard Boiled are pretty much the pinnacle of that era, I think. The Killer's good, but I still think Hard Boiled is number one by a long way for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Hard Boiled is pure action spectacle, isn't it? Whereas this is absolute action, but also very melodramatic, you know.
Yeah.
But it did, watching the 89 version, I was like, this movie is 30 years old, which is absolutely insane. But B, it still, action-wise, holds up. Like, no one blows up a room full of stuff like John Woo. Just like the environmental destruction in a gunfight. I still don't know what he does. It's like a secret sauce that is also, thankfully, still evident in the 2024 version, I would say. There's a lot we can say about it, and we must. But when it comes to people in a confined space shooting guns, no, you just don't see like the physical destruction. So much stuff in the air, just splintering and pew, 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 pew. I love it.
Yeah,
And
it's
even
great. It's good.
he nailed it in 89. And thankfully, I was still really delighted with some of the stuff from 24, coming off the back of Silent Night, which I really didn't enjoy and I found quite disappointing action-wise. This I felt like was a return to form.
I haven't seen Silent Night, but it's all silent. That's the hook, right?
Yeah, the guy can't talk.
Right. Okay.
It's
That sounds
pretty
like a
bleak.
good idea.
Yeah,
Is it?
It seems like a good idea, but I suppose you could compare it to 89 Killer in that it is very drawn out melodrama. And it's basically like about over an hour of this guy mourning and then eventually deciding to do something about it and sort of killing a few people. But by then you're like, good Lord, Jonathan, I love you and I wanted to love this, but it was not for me. However, The Killer 2024, I will say right now, I had a really good time with. I really liked it.
I'm going to put my hands up right now. And I'm
Let's
going
both
to say,
put our hands up.
like we're being held up at gunpoint. I'm going to say Killer 2024 was a very hard slog for me.
Oh, boy.
Very, very hard slog. And it had its moments, but I'm gonna be tearing this movie apart.
Okay,
I'm
well
not
then
gonna
I'll
lie, Sam.
I'll take the
Yeah,
defense.
Yeah, please. I want to tell me I'm wrong. And I found it hard.
But just as a barometer, Killer 89, you do like a lot.
I do like, but it's interesting. I'm going to say something quite controversial. I know.
Can you put your hands up as you say this?
I'm putting my hands up.
Keep those hands up.
Something. I know people are not going to like what I'm about to say.
Oh boy.
I just think Hitler had some.
Oh
no! No, people are gonna. I haven't seen any. I saw Broken Arrow recently, weirdly, but I haven't seen any John Woo for a long time.
I've got so many lined up. After watching The Killer, I was like, I need to rewatch all the classics.
Yeah, and it was funny watching it again recently, like how my teenage brain has absorbed this movie, and now me having watched just thousands of movies, now my taste has just changed, I think.
Yeah.
And there's so much to like in The Killer. I'm not, he's clearly a really great director, I think. And so much of it is, like we were saying earlier, is visual storytelling and stuff. But if I'm just really honest with myself, I cannot get on board with the melodrama. That's the bit.
Yeah.
And there's so much soaring strings and looking into the distance. There's a part in The Killer which made me laugh so much in the 80s one where he's in the middle of getting a contract from his handler, in the middle of getting a contract for the next kill. And he starts playing a harmonica and looking out the window. And the handler doesn't say a fucking word, just watches him play a harmonica out of a window. And I know that's the sort of stuff that also is why it's so fun and appealing.
I have to say that part was, as much as it is as ridiculous as you say, the score is the harmonica, and then he opens the door and he's playing the harmonica. That was chef's kiss for me.
And I know that's the appeal. Don't get me wrong. I understand why that is. It's punching a snake in Hard Target. Like there's
Yes.
like fun. I get that, but just the overwrought melodrama of like it's like emo. It's like emo action.
It's heavy. It is heavy.
and it's just about right in The Killer and Hard Boiled. I mean, Hard Boiled's less so, but it's just about right in those two. But even The Killer's getting a bit too ridiculous for even me.
Yeah.
But when it goes wrong, and you've already said this about Silent Night, it goes really, it's so weird and off, like in an action movie.
Yeah.
But so my top line note is I did enjoy The Killer far more than the 2024 one, but it wasn't as to my taste as my teenage self, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's always tough to revisit a movie from so long ago that holds such a place in your heart, isn't it? And I was a little bit nervous going back to it, but it had enough moments that made me like just tingly, you know, and got excited.
Yeah.
And even the new one, which I went into with a very low expectations, and maybe that helped.
Yeah.
Had a few of those moments where I was like, dude, he's still got it. He's still got it.
It's also hard to look back on a movie like, you know, like so much 80s and 90s Hollywood action has stolen and like riffed off these movies.
Yes.
That, you know, like, so that like melodrama in The Killer sort of morphs into the sort of buddy Lethal Weapon style, like, and so it's quite hard to criticize the source because it was so fresh and new then.
Yeah.
But because we've seen so many imitators now and it's all diluted, it becomes a parody of itself almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think with the new one, there's an argument that it is like Wu almost parodying himself or just doing his greatest hits. Like, I mean, I hear that argument and I'm like, my hands are up. They must stay up.
But even watching the original, even though it's not fair, it looks like a parody of itself because of the imitators. And now, because he's remade his own movie, then it is a literal parody of itself by the time it gets to 2024.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
I don't want to be the mealy mouth, like, I mean, it is a fun movie, The Killer, without a doubt.
Yeah, and tonally, 2024, I think, is very different from 89. If 89 is like, you know, ringing, what do you call it? Like hand-wringing melodrama. This one is more whimsical, more light-hearted in parts.
Yeah.
It harks back to another John Woo movie. I don't know if you've seen it, called Once a Thief, which also stars Chow Yun-fat and is a bit more of a sort of caper, but then also has some smashing John Woo action in it. And I think sometimes this reminded me of that more than the original 89 Killer, aside from, you know, the sort of plot details and stuff that was exactly the same.
Yeah, I felt that whimsical caperness. It felt like that makes sense that it was for Peacock. It feels more TV, doesn't it? Like the location work and the split screens and the caper music. The music is like capery, and
I knew you'd have some thoughts on the music because it is it almost in parts it is almost like Hong Kong music from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's deliberate.
library music. It's so library music. Yeah.
It's a guy
100%.
whistling for most of the movie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, John Woo loves that, like I want to say 50s or 60s, like Herman Melville, Le Samurai. Like, I think the original Killer was based on that. And I feel like for the whole time, he's been like, I want to make my Paris movie, probably. I don't know. I mean, this movie has been like threatened to be remade since about 1990 and has never got off the ground. And I think finally he was like, I just want a guy or a girl in an overcoat with a trilby fedora standing in the rain in Parisian theatre lights or whatever.
Yeah, but the thing about, like, I don't know if you've seen any Melville movies, they're really great, but they're what we were talking about earlier. There's very little dialogue, and it's about people who are really good at their jobs doing their jobs. That's basically, they're all about that. And that isn't this movie. No. And so it's like he's riffing on the idea of it, and then it's just but then it's. Should we just get into it? Because
Please.
I want to talk about
Absolutely, yeah. Go.
it. Now, Omar Sy, I think is great. I think he's like really charismatic.
Really enjoyed him in this.
But Sam Worthington and Natalie Emmanuel, they're just not very charismatic performers, I don't think. And I just don't think they're very good, full stop. I just don't think they're very good. And it makes a difference. Like, Chow Yun-fat is so fucking charismatic.
Fair.
He's so, like, he could do like, he's, like, charming, cheeky. You forgive him for shooting your best mate. Like, it's all... It's so wrapped up in, the movie's called The Killer. Like, it needs to be someone very charismatic. I just don't think she's got that particularly. And I don't think Sam Worthington has got that either, personally.
Well, let's circle back to whatever Sam Worthington is doing in this movie. And I hear you. I think, like, in my head, Chow Yun-fat has always been sort of 45, even though he's probably like 30 in The Killer or something.
But when he has his geography teacher fake moustache, he's at least 33.
That ages him up. Yeah.
You're never going to find that guy now. Like, he's in costume.
It's impossible to track down. I think Natalie Emmanuel, I do like her in this, but she does have a sort of more of a sprightly, youthy vibe, right? Like, and I think that is what also makes this the less melodramatic and more of the capery vibe, because she does, murder quite a lot of people, but she's a lot more likable in between, She got fun disguises and there's quips and stuff.
The movie hinges on the idea that the killer is, I guess, repentant, right? And that's why they're protecting this supposed innocent. So you need to have a bit of, like, darkness and sadness. Otherwise, the whole conceit of the movie doesn't really work. You can't be, japes, because it doesn't work. Like, the intrinsic, like, The Killer, the 80s one, has that in spades. Like, it may be OTT, but you get it. Yeah. Like, most of the movie is him looking out across the bay and, like, being in churches. Like,
True. Yeah, I'll give you that maybe she doesn't bring with her, like, the gravitas that is perhaps needed for someone who is called, like, Queen of the Dead.
Yeah. I just don't think she's a great actor. She's fine, but she's not a great actor. I'm sorry. I don't think Sam Worthington is. I'm sorry. I'm holding up my hands. I'm holding up my hands. I can say whatever I want now.
Oh boy. And this is why I'm always concerned.
Now, Mussolini, what a guy.
God. Oh boy. Natalie Emmanuel seems loved. She's a good old English
I'm not saying,
shows. I don't know what you've got against her.
No, I'm sure she's a lovely person. I'm just saying, if she's an actor, then you got to be judged for being a professional actor.
Fair.
I'm sorry.
Now, here's something I learned. Sam Worthington, technically British, born in the UK.
Interesting.
Moved to Australia when he was 6 months old, though. So,
here's something I learned. Natalie Emmanuel used to get the same train as me at Herring Gay Station.
No way. And I bet if you saw her on that train, you wouldn't tell her you didn't like her in The Killer, would you?
No, I'm hiding behind this pathetic little mic millions of miles away from her, having never acted in my life.
Now, I think we have to ask the obvious question, which is, at what point did somebody in the production or Sam Worthington himself decide to make this character Northern Irish, an accent that I would say probably ranks among the hardest to pull off on screen, and also I would say one that most people watching this would not place. They would just say Irish, and I imagine some people might have a few words.
I'm going to say with 100% certainty that was Sam Worthington's choice to do that. Why else? Like, he must be like, John, I've learned something. I'm gonna do this. Run with it.
I've been practicing, and I think I can pull it off. I've been watching news reports from the 1980s,
And I think I can...
Unionist.
So it is. It's fun to do. We can all agree it is fun to do, but it's odd, isn't it?
Unsustainable if you've got to run at the same time.
He does do well with it, I would say. It's not an absolute shambles. I think most people are going to be like, yeah, he's definitely doing an accent that, I think it's some sort of Irish, but it's a big ask.
Took me out.
Yeah.
He took me out right out.
Yeah.
Right out.
Yeah.
I guess the other complaint I have about this movie is it just felt like it was like John Woo was stuck in the late 90s, early noughts. Like all the choices felt very tired. So like from Diana Silver's, I think that's what her name is, the singer, like the song she's singing is like late 90s trip hop to like the dance sequence where they're in like a club and the club is like, no one goes to a club like this. Like this is what you think young people do, John Woo. Or
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, it just felt like the rhythm of it was just like so. It was just not quite right. Like the rhythm of the original is so right. Like it's just as it's getting a bit sappy, bang, bang, bang. Just as it's too bang, bang, bang. It just gets it right. And it gets all the camaraderie of being a man really right. I think the like there's a lot of like bromance stuff in the original, isn't there? And I'm not saying you need bromance to make a good movie, but it's lacking that sort of stuff. Like there's 2 points really. The first is John Woo has obviously been living in an underground bunker since 2003, and his favorite, or Hong Kong, and the second point is it's sort of missing that. I don't know. It's like a facsimile of an action movie. It hasn't actually got the charm because it hasn't got the actors with the charisma or the bromance or the sistermance, whatever. It doesn't have that like thing going on.
It's definitely doesn't have the
heart
chemistry.
Chemistry. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking for.
They do feel like they are different characters, but it doesn't. Whatever brought them together in the original, that was like, it was your classic two guys on the opposite side of the law.
Yeah.
Forced eventually to work together. There's like, it's like iconic, them back to back in the church, just like mowing down bad guys.
But this one, like Omar Sy at one point is just like smiling at her, and he knows she has murdered like 12 people, and he's like, oh, she disappeared down the street and I didn't catch her. What a crazy gal. Like, it's like, why are you thinking that? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But in the first one, you understand it because they're two sides of the same coin or blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think the thing of this lack of chemistry and then the sort of 90s, early noughts of it all just made it feel, like a facsimile. That's really what it felt like, if I'm honest.
I think that's, again, I'm not here to go to bat indiscriminately for this movie, but I had a good time with it. And I think all your points are right. They don't quite have the chemistry that Chow Yun-fat and Danny Lee had in the original. It's a different vibe. It's like jauntier, in which I guess is weird when it's like you're doing murders.
Yeah.
It does also, as you say, have that 90s 2000s vibe. It also has the vibe of, and this is obviously because it's set in Paris and probably has like some Parisian stunt teams that have worked on them, but the vibe of EuropaCorp movies, Luc Besson's production company that made like The Transporter and 2 Days in Paris and District 13 and all those, where they kind of found a template and they were like, we do good action in France now. I think you could slot it in amongst those movies and it would sit, and unless you looked at it closely, you could just think it was part of that conveyor belt. But I would say it is very John Woo-y in parts, and there are parts of it where you go, he fucking knows what he's doing. He moves the camera like no one else. And I think watching the original, the 1989, there were just bits where during a conversation, during a bit of action, the camera just like he just moves it in such a fucking cool way. It swoops around like, you know, steady cams from one thing to another. And in this, there's so many like massive sort of telephoto zooms and like the subject changes and the you know, people move around an action scene. Geography he's always been great at. And those are the things that other people have struggled to replicate. I did think of Michael Bay numerous times watching the OG, just to hark back to your point of the 89, the John Woo, the Hard Boiled inspired all the shit we've watched in between. It put me in mind of, Michael Bay's like camera moves and stuff. 100% inspired by John Woo. Like his early stuff like Bad Boys and stuff has people twin wielding pistols that are so obviously like a hat tip to Mr. Woo.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think he is a really great director, and like not only with the action choreography, like just how he like tells things visually. I think he is amazing, especially technically. But what is weird in this version is it did feel like he'd run out of ideas. Like you had like the classic, again, like 90s sort of like a fish tank exploding.
Yeah.
Is a great example. Or like just like, okay, we've seen this like 100 times. Or just as I'm talking about the 90s, but like that, like someone wants a record deal is one of the plot points in this movie. It's just like, who in 2024 thinks they're going to get a record deal? It's so, or like the fact, I don't know, just like the Eiffel Towers in the back of every shot. Like, I don't know, it just felt tired. And like, I'm not knocking his ability. Like, he clearly is, you know, really good at, and like the geography of stuff is why I'll watch a John Woo movie over a Michael Bay movie. Michael Bay is so edited so fast and moves so much. You just don't know what is happening half the time.
Yeah.
But John Woo takes his time, and, you know, all those melodramatic bits in the original do help the rhythm of the whole movie. Like, you know, like it's like tension release. But this was just sort of, the rhythm was just so off.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just repeating myself.
No, I think a lot of it. Also, I think I read back at my original Letterboxd review from when I watched it, maybe, I don't know, like a month ago, whenever it came out. And I'd mentioned that it sagged a little bit in the middle. It probably needed another action scene in there. And I think that speaks to like the budget almost certainly. Like whoever, you know, the sort of line producer's balance sheet of John Woo going, I want a lot of things blowing up for real. And them going, well, if you insist on all the effects being practical, we're probably going to have to lose the skirmish in the middle and him being like, I'd want it practical. There is CG blood, but there's also like squibs.
It did feel like it was missing. Yeah. It felt like it was missing a sequence in the middle. But I wanted to ask you, I thought a lot of it was CGI. There's some pretty bad CGI.
Yeah, I mean, the opening shot is a sort of comped in background of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
I don't know what the budget of this was. It's what is a mid-budget movie these days? There's enough budget to have a nightclub scene that looks like, albeit a 90s nightclub.
They were wearing leather.
It still has like 100 people in it, real people. So yeah, I think we could probably go round and round in circles, but I think how you approach this is really going to dictate what you get from it. I think if you're maybe fiending for the old John Woo and you're a little bit aggrieved that Silent Night didn't do that, this will scratch that itch. It does have some really nice bits of action, and I think the finale of this goes pretty fucking hard. Like as soon as the movie, after the Compton Eiffel Tower cuts to an abandoned church, you're like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Pump it into my veins.
But to get there, you have to go through various points where at one point a character, the killer says, hi, as in disguise, says, my name is Mrs. Noon. And then the other person looks at it on a piece of paper, is like, Noon? Oh, no one.
Yeah.
And then draws it, underlined it like
Underlines
3 times.
it twice. Yeah. It's very on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, or the disguises that she wears literally looks like someone's stolen her clothes at a swimming pool and she's just sort of grabbed something out. Like, they're so ridiculous.
It's like somebody's autumn looks Instagram reel where she's just putting on, I'm trying on a flat cap and a side parting.
It's so silly.
Yeah. All of your complaints are valid. And I think for whatever reason, I let a lot of things slide because it delivered enough in the action department that itch was scratched and my love for John Woo was able to maintain.
Yeah, I guess my question to you then to wrap up, I guess, is how much do you owe like a filmmaker who you know, like how many passes do you get just because it's John Woo?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, we watched Walled In on one of these episodes. That was like some fantastic, like
banging, loved it.
Banging. And like, well, just go and watch that. It's modern and it's done with like a bit of verve and like passion. Whereas I feel like just because it's John Woo, I mean, he just doesn't have, it didn't feel like he had the passion anymore. I just like, go and watch something new and fresh. That would be.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Well, you know, if Scorsese puts out a new movie, you're going to watch it, right? Whatever, one way or the other.
That is very true. But Scorsese's last 4 movies have been absolutely amazing. So I'm not good. It's not like he's had a hiatus of 30 years of decent movies.
Sure. But I will say, like John Woo's last Hollywood movies, or even the one in Hong Kong, I seem to recall there's a movie called Manhunt, which I remember thinking this is like a parody of a John Woo movie. Mm-hmm. Between that, Silent Night being like, he's back to Hollywood. Oh no, what happened? This, I don't know. It worked for me. I'm not saying it's a stone cold classic, but it did feel like if I was worried he'd lost his mojo, he was like 77 now, right? He's still got it. I was sort of looking at the crew of this, like, who's this cinematographer? Maybe he's just got someone who's, you know, and it's a guy called Mauro Fiore who did Training Day, The Island, Avatar. He's worked with a lot of people, but this still felt like John Woo. So it's still, regardless of who's behind the camera, like operating it or work in that department, it still had those signature Woo bits. And maybe I just missed it and I was like, God damn. But, you know, John Wick scratches one itch and this, I think, scratched a slightly different one.
I'm just going to dust off my old hard-boiled bootleg and I'm just going to watch that instead.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm going to revisit Hard-Boiled, Broken Arrow, Face Off. I'm doing them all. Before you go, give me your action replay moment. I did it in a French accent.
I'm going to go with the 80s killer. And
okay.
I'm going to go with the 2024 killer, where she looks at a goldfish in a fish tank, and she says, "Hey, guppy, I mean, no offense." And I'm like, why would what's offensive about the word guppy, and why are you talking to a fish? And that's got no action in it whatsoever. And that is my action replay.
Wow. He's turned the system on its head. There is a stunt at the beginning of this movie where Omar Sy is in a sort of chase with a baddie and starts out, it's pretty good. There's some gunplay, it's wooey. Then there's a car stunt where, and this is also a staple of Woo, I think. A bike falls down, skids, and the car flies in the air. And then the stuntman is just like keeps skidding as the car lands. And I swear, like, the car is almost on him. He's almost like pushing the car off him. I mean, it's. I don't know if it's an action replay because I was like, "Holy shit, that's bloody dangerous."
I'm going to rescind my stupid answer earlier and say that one because I noticed that. I was like, Jesus, that guy looked like he was nearly crushed.
Yes.
It was very good, that one.
Really good stunt. I mean, a health and safety nightmare, but the French car stunts department, from Remy Julien down, they know how to do a bloody car stunt. There's also some pretty good stuff. I mean, this sort of finishing special move is also absolutely absurd, but it did make me want to stand up and applaud. I'm sorry, Chris. What a pendulum this podcast has become.
No, but that's what's good. It's the dialogue. We don't have to agree. I just need to put my hands down because I'm very tired. My hands have been up this entire
whole time. No, you'll have no blood left in those pups.
No, they've gone tingly.
Hey, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want anyone finding you online, or are you happy sort of being a hermit for a while?
You can go on my letterbox account, the Chris Gau, I think it is.
Yeah, he's changed his profile picture of late.
I know. I got some sexy headshots
done. Yeah, it's like a professional on there now. I love it.
The professional, just like the killer.
He's brought it back, and that's why you hire him. Chris, thank you 1,000,000 for coming back. And I'm sorry, would you say, hey, this is a great place to leave it. Would you say you liked The Killer 2024 more or less than The Beekeeper?
Way less.
Oh, boy.
And because the Beekeeper at least was so bad that it was entertaining. This was just meh. This is just meh.
Yeah, there is something to be said for so bad it's good being better than meh.
But that's why sorry, I'm going to rant again. But the 80s Killer has that like ridiculous likeness to it. And this one was just like, man, it felt like a streaming and it felt like a streamer. And it's just like, put it on if you're sitting making the oven chips, waiting for your fish fingers to bake. Put it on.
I think if you're a fan of Woo of Old, you'll find something to enjoy in this. Or all of Chris's complaints are still valid. Christoph, always a pleasure. Please come back in future.
What will be my next title if from concubine of the pod? What's next?
I suppose we either go from it's over, I'm staying with my wife, or you're the second wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Second wife of the pod then.
Could be. Play your cards right or wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully I'll get an invite back.
1 out of 3. We're batting 1 out of 3 with Gau on the pod. If you want to follow the pod, we're on all the socials. Go to simonfielder.com and find me there. Did you like The Killer? I did. Tell me. Until next time, goodbye. Goodbye, as they say in Spain.
Bye.